podcast. This is episode 6, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's episode 6. It feels like episode 6. We're going to say it's episode 6. So thank you guys for joining me. My name is Sharon Graff, and I am the owner of The Modern Skein, which is a yarn shop here in Montgomery, Texas. We specialize in hand-dyed, indie-dyed yarns and handcrafted accessories, notions, and just fun add-on things to your knitting, crocheting, or fiber-filled craft. They are fun, though. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoy this or have watched previous episodes, do subscribe. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up and a like. Comment if you'd like as well. Follow us on Instagram at The Modern Skein. My personal Instagram is Mrs._Sharon_Graff, Graff. And of course, the shop is at The Modern Skein. We're at The Modern Skein across all social media, which is Facebook and Instagram, because I don't do Twitter, the tweets, whatever you'd like to call it. I don't do them. Okay, so let's get into the fun things so far. I have a couple finished objects this week to show you. Yay! I know last time we didn't, because I'm pretty positive this was not completely finished on last episode. I really should have watched the last one to make sure, but I am 99.999% positive that I did not finish this in time for last week's episode. So if you've seen it already, apologies. But I finished this cute little jumper sweater for a soon-to-be, well, what would she be? Josh's cousin is having a baby, so that would be a first cousin once removed. I'm not that great on how it's removed, second, etc. So anyway, they're having a baby. It's going to be a little girl. They live in upstate New York, so that's going to be their little gift. Very fun. And I don't think she watches this, so hopefully she'll be surprised. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called French Macaroon. It comes in variety of sizes, newborn all the way through, I believe, 4 years old, or size, I think, T4. I went ahead and knitted up the 3 to 6 month size, just so there's some wiggle room and room for growth for the baby. And I used Hedgehog DK, the Merino DK. Hedgehog Merino DK is actually a superwash, and it does say on the label it is machine washable. I'm going to give her instructions that it's preferable to hand wash, and of course do not put in the dryer. But if it did get in the washing machine accidentally, it should not harm it whatsoever. The only modifications I did to this pattern is I crocheted a little tie in the back rather than a button. I couldn't find a cute button, and I don't know about you, but I don't like it when there's a button on the back of my neck. I don't think a baby would like it either. That's just my opinion. So I put this little tie there, and I did crochet around the little hole there, and I actually knit this in one piece. So rather than knitting a back and a front separately, I just continued in one long piece. So I flipped them. It's not that hard. I did rip out a couple times and restart, but when I put this up on Ravelry, I will include the modifications and how I did them. So if you too would like to knit it in one piece to have less seaming, you still have to seam under the arms and down the sides. I did try a 3-needle bind off under the arms, but to me it was too bulky, and I didn't like how it looked. So anyway, there are lots of options out there. Don't be afraid to modify your knits. Did we just go crooked? Hold on. I feel like we are crooked. Now we're really crooked. Okay. There. No, now we're really crooked. I still feel like we're crooked. Hold on. I don't know why I feel like we're crooked. My thing says it's level. Anyway, if the crookedness bothers you as much as it does me, drink some coffee and relax. And just roll with it. Okay, so that's one finished object. This is my second finished object I'm wearing here. This is the Saint Laurent wrap. It's a free pattern on Ravelry by Espace Tricot. And I also modified this. So you can see here, this is just a very basic lace pattern. And I knit this up in Proverbs, which is a linen cotton 60/40 organic blend from Forbidden Fiber Company. We have, just spaced out. Yeah, there it is. We have 7 colors in stock, and this just takes 2 skeins. Now, it only takes 2 skeins when you do it the way that I did it, which is not, it's following the pattern through halfway and stopping. So the pattern, you start down here and you work your way and you bind off here. I just went in the instructions. It says go till you run out of or go through halfway of your yarn, half of your yarn, or till you reach a certain amount of stitches. I just went until I was almost out of my yarn. I did my garter border and bound off. Step 2 of the pattern is to join down here at the tip and basically build on this side until you have a kite shape. This is hard to describe, but if you look at the pattern, so this would be one side and this would be the other. So it would be almost like a kite or a diamond shape. And then you fold it over and then you have like a double-sided wrap. Well, that's, even in cotton linen, that's a little heavy for my liking for a summer knit. So I just did the one side. I think this edge is perfectly fine. It's linen, or linen cotton. It's supposed to be kind of rustic feeling, so it's not perfectly perfect, which is part of the beauty of it. So this is, again, a free pattern called the Saint Laurent wrap. If you do it the way I did, it just takes 2 skeins of Proverbs. If you do the full pattern, you're probably looking at about 4, possibly 5 skeins, because it is a quite large wrap if you make it to the full dimensions. So this is a sample that we have in the store. So come by and take a look at it, and let's see. I believe, I do have another finished object. I can't really show it because it was my test knit for Lavanya Petrosella. It is completely finished. It was wonderful. The pattern, what is she calling it? Still light? Soft? Still bright? Something like that. Anyway, it's supposed to launch August 20th. So when she usually launches her patterns, there's usually a little bit of a discount code for the first 48 hours that the pattern launches. So I encourage you to watch your Instagram feed. It's where she posts it. And go ahead and buy it when you're on Ravelry, because it is a great kind of next step pattern if you've done some basic brioche and you want to explore really cool shapes that brioche can do without having to learn a new stitch in brioche. You're still using your basic burp and bark stitches, the brioche knit and the brioche purl, and you're simply knitting brioche knits together or purling brioche, actually you're not purling anything together. You're knitting stitches together to decrease, and you are making knit increases. That's all you're doing. And it creates a really unique feature panel in the front that's very kind of the illusion of lace without any lace, which is really neat. So again, that is finished. I will have it on display in the shop, but I won't show it on the podcast until the pattern is officially released. So that was 3 finished objects over the past week, which is fantastic. And I got quite a bit done on my other project that I had in the works, and I got 2 new projects cast on. So, let me show you. First off, this all got tangled up. The Hayward sweater. So, this is the completed body of the Hayward sweater. It's hard to see on here, but so we have the body, which I knit in the round, and then we have the split for the raglan sleeves that will be added on. And then you have your back piece, which is right here, and then your front piece. And there's just very minor little short row shapings to create a little bit of a scoop. So this piece is finished. I'm actually probably going to go ahead and block it tonight, just to relax this bottom edge a little bit. And I like to, if I do things in pieces, I like to block each piece separately, then sew it together, and then just steam the edges. That way I know everything blocks to the right size. Let's see. You can find modifications on, if you go to Espa Tricot's project page, they have knit the Hayward sweater several times, Melissa has, and she almost always, I believe, knits hers in the round as well. That's where I got my modifications from. So you can get those from there. Basically, you take your size that you want to make. So it says for, I think the size, what did I cast? I don't know, because I just did it for the medium or the medium large. You were supposed to cast on, anyway, I don't remember. Let's just say it was 140 stitches. You minus 4 stitches because you're supposed to seam it. So minus 4 stitches. So that would be, okay, let's go with 144 if you were supposed to cast on. Minus 4 makes 140. Then times that by 2 because you need 2 pieces. So that would be 140 plus 140, which makes 280. And that's how many you cast on and join in the round. Knit, knit, knit to the place where you start shaping the raglans. Then you're going to bind off. But remember, you don't have quite as many stitches, so you will bind off less stitches on each side. I think it should be a total of 2 stitches less on each side that you have to bind off, and then shape your raglans as in the pattern for the front, and then for the back, or for the back and then for the front, and then knit the sleeves as normal. So I have finished the body, like I said, and I have started knitting the sleeves. I've got one sleeve done. Well, no, I don't have one sleeve done. I've got one sleeve started. And so you can see here we have a tubular cast on just to create a very smooth ribbing edge. It's a 1x1 rib, nice and elastic. I do not, that sounded weird. I did not follow the they didn't do long tail. I did not follow the tubular cast on method that is mentioned in the pattern for the Hayward itself. It requires a provisional cast on, and it's very complicated, and I don't like it. I do the long tail tubular cast on. Pearl Soho does a great video and step-by-step tutorial on how to do a long tail tubular cast on, which is sometimes called an Italian tubular cast on. Much easier. It's just a whole lot better in my opinion, because I'll actually do it. With the other one, I end up getting off on my stitches and it looks messy, things like that. Now, tubular cast on edge, to me, always kind of looks a little loose until you block it, and then it kind of evens out a little bit, but it is always going to be a little loose. It's not going to be drawn in tight just because it is built to be stretchy. So just be aware of that. I mean, typically you don't want cuffs to be super tight anyway. I don't. Because I usually always bind them off too tight anyway. So this is much better. So now in the pattern, it said once you do your 3 inches of ribbing, then do like 4 rows and start decreasing. I am not doing that yet. I am just still knitting back and forth in straight stockinette because I want my sleeves longer. In the picture, they're like right at the elbow, and to me it's not where I'm comfortable with a sleeve. I like it a little bit below, or like bracelet I think this is 3/4 length and this is about bracelet length, and I really like bracelet length. So I think I'm going to go ahead and kind of guesstimate and knit from the bottom or from the top of the ribbing till I start the raglan shaping. I believe what I'm going to do is knit 5 inches. I'm going to look because I know Melissa at Spa Tricot also lengthened her sleeves. I want to go back and see how many inches she added, because when she wears it in one of her podcasts, I like where the sleeves hit. They're right about here on her, and I want to see how many inches she added. It might have only been 3, and if so, then I don't have to knit quite as much. So working on that. And then yesterday I cast on for the Aura wrap or Aura shawl by Caitlin Hunter. Give me a half a second and I love my basket for traveling with everything back and forth to the shop. However, this mohair that I'm holding together, so with the Hayward sweater, I'm holding a strand of mohair silk with my fingering weight yarn, just to give it a little texture. But it gets everywhere. Okay, so the Aura shawl, I am using, this is what it looks like, by Caitlin Hunter. And I am using, it calls for 2 full-size skeins of fingering weight yarn plus 2 mini skeins. I am using Purl and Ply, really pretty color. This is kind of a peachy cream with little purple, golden, and green speckles. And then this, I think this is Walk in the Sand. Yeah. Yes, it is. I'm pretty positive. And then this is Summer Bouquet, I believe. Summer something. And it's a minty green, olive green with little blue, teal, and kind of goldy brown speckles. It's really pretty. They pair nicely together. And then out of my stash of used up bits, I found this is Cereal by Hedgehog. So it's showing really kind of funky looking on the camera, but it's a really pretty kind of golden yellow with little speckles of hot pink, green, and orange. It pairs really nicely. And then this is also by Hedgehog. I believe that this was it's not Film Noir, maybe Abstraction. Anyway, it's a white or cream colored base with little pink, purple, mostly pink and purple with the tiniest bit of a blue and yellow speckle, like a dark blue and a dark yellow speckle. So those are my 2 contrast colors. Now last night I was able to cast on, let me get it for you, and get the first stockinette section and working on the striped section. So I'm in the middle of section 2. As you can see, it has this really cool braid detail running up the middle. And then it starts out, I'll say, fairly similar to any triangular shawl with a wide swath of stockinette and increases. And then this striped section, this is where we're alternating rows of the 2 contrast colors. At first it's plain stockinette, but then, I don't know if you can see it right here, we start to go into a seed stitch. So there's a little bit of seed stitch there. And then after that, I believe we go into the eyelet section with the peach color for me, because that will be my second main color. But I love this braid detail going up the center. It shows up a lot more in person, even on this variegated. It's just beautiful. It adds this fun, just this fun little pop to what would be, so far anyway, a basic triangular shaped stockinette shawl, but it just makes it a little more interesting and different. And I have got yarn all wrapped around, there we go, my microphone. Okay, so that was the Aura shawl. So that's been cast on. And by the way, Purl and Ply's yarn is so soft. It's a merino nylon sock, but it feels so incredibly soft and squishy you would never know there was any nylon in there. It's amazing, and you get great stitch definition. So I'm really loving Purl and Ply's yarn. We have all, because I haven't sold out anything yet. I have all the colors of their new collection plus 6 still remaining of the old collection, which they're no longer dyeing. So if you love any of those colors, like Ghost Ranch, Purple Petunia, some of the other names, Lark and Holly, I still have those. So that is the Aura shawl. Then I cast on also yesterday. Yesterday was a rainy day. We went out for a little belated birthday shopping. I wanted to go to Barnes & Noble. I hadn't been there in forever. Picked out some books, so anyway, I digress. So I cast on Joji Locatelli's Rhapsody in Cables. As you can see, this is a fairly thick pattern. This is not a beginner's level pattern. However, it's also not, I do not consider it to be a you must be super advanced person to cast this on. It's a very unique way of constructing a garment. Very different than anything that I've ever done. You're basically, I won't give the whole thing away, but you're basically starting like in the middle, working out, and then joining and working out, and then joining and working the back. So you're not doing, it's not a traditional top down or bottom up sweater. It's worked more side to side, but even then not in the traditional side to side method. So it's really, really fun so far. There are lots of charts. It's completely written, so you can do just written instructions if you are not a chart fan, but yet you can still do charts, which I like doing a little bit of both. The charts lets me match up my work and see, oh, yep, my cables are moving in the correct direction, or I've totally messed up. And then the written instructions, I can just read it very quickly, and so I can motor through the shaping and things like that very easy. So I'll show you what I've gotten so far. First off, you do have to do a provisional cast on. There's no way around not doing a provisional cast on. It would be your choice if you did a knitted or crocheted provisional cast on, but you do have to do one because, like I said, you're joining in the middle. So if you just imagine this is in the middle, And then when we finish this side, we're going to pick up these stitches and knit this side. It gives you a really neat look. But this is what I've gotten done so far. So you can see there's lots of cables, and then there's this lace panel, kind of leaves, and then you repeat the same. I am doing this in Malabrigo Arroyo. The pattern calls for worsted weight. I could never get on gauge with worsted weight. I tried 3 different types of worsted weight. Arroyo is considered a sport weight. However, for me, Arroyo acts very much like a DK weight, especially once you've blocked it. I was easily able to attain gauge with the correct needle size and the correct row and stitch count, which getting both row and stitch in gauge for me is rare. Typically I just get my stitch and I make up in my rows as needed, doing usually more rows than what is in the standard gauge swatch. And if that just went over your head, it's perfectly fine. Gauge is important, but don't let that intimidate you. In fact, there's lots of great videos online you can watch that will tell you about gauge, but I will be doing a gauge, I'll call it a gauge class sometime in the fall for people wanting to do garments, and just explaining why gauge is important, what changes your gauge. So if you don't get gauge on a pattern, doesn't mean you throw the pattern away. What can you do to change and get gauge if you're not familiar with what's, okay, it says a gauge of 26 stitches to 30 rows in 4 inches. And you get 29 and 28. What do I do? Well, for starters, you could go down in needle size. If that still is not getting you the correct gauge, you may need to go down in weight of your yarn. Possibly go back up in your needle size, possibly stay lower in your needle size. So anyway, it's not rocket science. Don't be afraid to experiment. But if you want a sweater that you'll know you'll wear because you want it to fit, gauge is very important. With shawls, not so much unless you have a limited amount of yarn and you can't get that yarn anymore. Then you need to make sure you get gauge so you don't use up more yarn than you're supposed to. The other reason, especially on your big shawl blankets, schlankets, like Find Your Fade, pretty much any big Stephen West thing, if your gauge is a lot bigger than what their gauge in the pattern is, you will end up with not a shawl blanket, but a shawl that fits a house, so those are some things why gauge is important. So anyway, that's Rhapsody and Cables. That's this pattern here. And that is black and white, sorry. My printer at home is only printing in black and white, I don't know why. But that is a pattern available on Ravelry. And I'm excited. This is not usually a color I would go for, but it's really rich. And I think it'll be really nice. Okay, so that's that. Okay, then the other thing, I have not cast them on yet. I haven't even wound the yarn yet, but we know we were talking about several episodes ago Tecumseh, and I thought I had discovered the yarn I was going to use for my Tecumseh. Changed my mind, as usual. Tecumseh is a sweater by Caitlin Hunter. It's a pattern available on Ravelry. It is a 3-color sweater knit in DK weight yarn. It is basically a solid background, and then you have different motifs. I would call it, what would I call it? A Swiss cross, a Red Cross kind of looking symbol, and then these little pennant type flags alternating. It's very pretty. I was going to use a off-white creamy base and then accent it with, this wasn't this color, but a similar kind of a navy blue. But I've changed my mind, and I'll be now using this lovely Malabrigo yarn. It's like a smoky blue gray. It's called Cirrus Gray. So it's a gray with definite smoky cloud blue undertones. And then pairing it with the cream, which is the Natural by Malabrigo. This is all Dos Tierras. And then this fun skein of U2 Yarns New Zealand Polworth in this mustardy color. So I'm thinking that for my Tecumseh. Yay! So I'm still letting my thoughts ruminate on that one, but pretty sure that is what I will be doing for the Tecumseh. I knew I didn't, before the colors were almost identical to what she had done in her original design, which is a white, kind of a navy blue, gray, and a gold, which is really pretty. But I typically wear more, especially in the wintertime, blues, cream, well, I do wear cream, blues, darker colors. And I think this will go really well with, because it's kind of oversized, like navy blue leggings or black leggings, jeans, skinny jeans, put it over, I don't know, just about anything. So anyway, then the other one I'm still itching to cast on is Sunset Highway, also patterned by Caitlin Hunter. So we had wonderful ladies in our sit and stitch last week on Sunday. One of them was the Suburban Stitcher. If you don't follow the Suburban Stitcher, she has great indie dyed yarn and a wonderful, fun, uplifting podcast as well. Be sure and give her a follow. But she was in, and along with several other ladies that are our usual ladies, they were helping me figure out my colors for Sunset Highway. I'm really drawn to grays and navies. That's my wheelhouse colors. So when I saw this skein of Juniper, I actually bought this I got this at Stephen and Penelope's. Yay! That's a yarn store in Amsterdam. It's actually run by Stephen West and Malia, I forgot her last name. Penelope, whose name is not Penelope, it's Malia something or other. Anyway, so this is a skein of hedgehog fibers called Juniper. It's a gray, medium toned gray with navy blue, hints of purple, and then orange and pink splatters. Very, very eye-catching, and I loved it. So I knew I wanted this. Then, when this skein of kimono came in to the shop the other day, I knew I wanted this in my Sunset Highway. So, got two colors here. Then, after going back and forth with a bunch of other ones, everyone kept coming back to Fool's Gold, which these really do pair wonderfully. It's way brighter, than I would normally go for, but as we were doing the layout, this is going to be the darkest color. Let me show you. So this dark right up by the neck and the dark bits here, the really dark, almost black. That's going to be this, because it's my darkest tone. Then the loops right up by my face, that's going to be the gray. So I'll still have the blue and the gray up here, right around my face. Try and show you. So it'll look really nice, and it won't read wild and crazy. Sorry. Then this little swoop here, so just a touch, kind of down here, will be Fool's Gold. And then the sleeve bit, that will be Fool's Gold. The rest will be the body. We had decided when everybody was here this color, which is Platinum from Tolomatan. When I unhanged everything to wind it, I didn't love the sharp contrast between the kimono and this colorway, because this is going to be butted up next to kimono the whole time. I'm not 100% with it. I'm still thinking about it, but I'm not 100%. Then I paired up Cobblestone next to it, and I love it. I just don't want it to be too dull. I don't think it will. I've unhanged it. I've done my black and white colors to make sure the colors are harmonious, and they are, even with Cobblestone. I'm just not 100% sold on either. I like Cobblestone more than Platinum right now for this project. But again, I'm still not 100%. So my Sunset Highway's still pushed off. One of these days I'm just going to have to cast on and just go for it. But I really do want it to be a sweater I will wear. And so that's why I'm hemming and hawing about it so much. Although sometimes if I just buckle down and do it, I end up loving it anyway. So there's that. Okay, finally, that's it for what I have cast on and what I'm going to cast on. So real quickly, let me go over a few things we have in the store, and then I'll let y'all go because this is going into a longer episode than I planned. We got in last week several sweater quantities amounts of yarn. So if you're thinking about casting on something like Tecumseh, a Hayward sweater, the Silpa sweater by Caitlin Hunter, the Weekender by Andrea Mowry, basically any DK or worsted or fingering weight sweater or cardigan, we now have a lot more solid and semi-solid tones that you can use as your base and then add in some of the hand-painted skeins as well. So we have, for worsted weight, we have this. This is Malabrigo Rios in Pearl. It has just a hint more taupiness in person than it's reading on the screen, but we have tons of this. This is a worsted weight, so for anyone casting on worsted weight sweaters that needs a kind of a basic gray taupe for your background or main color, we've got that, or your all over color if it's just one color. And we also have the natural, so the cream. Again, these are both in Rios, so they're both worsted weight. Then we got in quite a few Dos Tierras, which is the DK weight. We have Hollyhock. We have Polar Morn. This is a restock, because this one we had in the store earlier. We have Plenty of Lettuce for a fun bright green sweater. We have the Sunset. This is a fun English rose, kind of a tonal. We have Plenty of Natural. And we have Paris Night, which is a rich, rich navy blue. So we have sweater quantities in all of that. Then we have our bags that we've launched. So this is what we're calling the signature bag online. This has no pockets. It's fully lined. You have a drawstring closure. You have a little wrist webbing thing here. And it holds about 6 skeins. The signature one is 45. And then we have the solid duck fabric. This has a pocket on the outside and on the inside as well. This one is 55. Again, drawstring closure. And then we have a few of the signatures with the pockets on both the outside and on the inside. In the future, all of the signatures will come with pockets on both the inside and outside due to popular demand. The wrist webbing varies between this and a solid canvas. And as we sell more, there'll be some limited edition prints. When we launched them, we had a really cute alpaca, and we had a gray and more of the duck, and we've sold out of those already. So thanks for showing the love on those. Those are all handmade by my mom. And then I finish them off with the drawstring and the labels and all that fun stuff. Okay, so last but not least, the other things we have restocked in the store, we have our crochet tins. So these are fully loaded with scissors, snips, tags, stitch fixtures, notions, needles, some stitch markers, things like that. These are specifically for crochet. So this one is I crochet, what's your superpower? And this one is life is better with yarn. I don't know if it's backwards for you, but those are both crochet specific. And then we have the knitting specific. We have Life is Short by All the Yarn. Knitting is my happy place. And I just want to knit and drink coffee. And then we also have the empty. It just comes with a magnet and two darning needles, the Modern Skein. So this one is great if you just want to fill up and you have your own scissors and whatnot, but you just need an extra travel tin. This one's for you. And then if you saw our Instagram story maybe a couple of days ago, you saw that we got in new pins and progress keepers. So these are the progress keepers from Twill and Print. This is a little sheep. And this is the little snail called the Slow Knitter. So these are progress keepers. You can put them on your work on the row that you start, knit, 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 and then you know how many rows you were able to accomplish in your knitting period, or you can attach them to a closed jump ring and then you have a cute dangly stitch marker, traditional stitch marker. Then we got lots of pins. So we have the alpaca. We have the Slow Knitter. He's so cute. We have Swift Stitches. This is Places Where You Can Knit. Sleeve Island. That's where I am with my Hayward. Frogless Achievement. Nothing in my project bag would be considered a frogless achievement right now, except for my Aura shawl, because I have actually already frogged Rhapsody and Cables a little bit, couple rows, more like tinked back. I already showed you that one. This one's my favorite. Sip Sip Knit rather than Slip Slip Knit. Cute. Yarnaholic. I mean, duh. We have our little sheep. And we have the Craft Queen. So that's everything in the shop that's new and exciting. We do have one other announcement though. Exciting news. Starting Thursday, we will have a new employee in the shop. So if you have ever watched the Cat Knit podcast or heard of Grace Wick, she used to work in the yarn store Yarntopia down in Katy, Texas. She will be joining me in the shop as one of our workers in the shop. Gotta come up with a fun name. You know, Espatrico, they call their employees yarn consultants. I think that's fancy. So yeah, maybe a knitting consultant. I don't know. But anyway, Grace will be starting in the shop this week. So come by, say hi. She's greatly knowledgeable on all things knitting and yarn, can help you put together some yarn for projects, give you advice on your, I almost said recipes, but patterns are kind of like recipes. She can give you some advice, help you out if you've got a stuck stitch or a boo-boo in your pattern, of course, wind your yarn, all that good stuff. So come by, say hi. She'll be here for sure anytime I'm not here, so the shop will no longer have to be closed if I have to run out of town. Yay! And yeah, she's just gonna be working out perfectly. It's awesome. So, hi Grace, if you're watching this, we'll see you on Thursday. And also this Friday and Saturday, I will be exhibiting with some of the items in the store at the Huntsville, East Texas Thimble Trail, which is a quilt show at the Walker County Fairgrounds. So the shop will be open. Grace will be running our shop here in Montgomery, but I will also have a booth at the quilt show in Huntsville. So if you're in the quilt show or up in Huntsville and want to come by and look at the quilting things and then my stuff that I bring up, you're welcome to. And I think that about wraps it up. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us on a little bit longer episode than normal.